Lord bless everyone. In today's program, we will be answering your questions on the Bible. So sit back and hear questions and answers today. First question, how many wives did Jacob have in the Bible? The Bible mentions 4 wives, which were Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah. You can read this in Genesis 29, verses 23, verses 28, and Genesis 30, verse 4, and Genesis 30, verse 9. But he only acknowledged one before his death, and that was Leah. We read this in Genesis 49, verses 29 to 31. It says, Then he charged them, his sons, and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of the Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite as a possession for a burial place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. So notice he only acknowledged one of them as his wife before his death. Next question, how many lashes did Paul receive from the Jews? 195 lashes. 2 Corinthians 11 verse 24 says, From the Jews 5 times I received 40 stripes minus 1. And 5 times 39 is 195. I usually answer my questions. Sometimes I go to the closet and there I have a stool and I sit down and answer questions. And I forgot I took out the stool, so if you heard somebody fall, it was me. Anyway. Next question, was Manasseh a tribe? Yes, they came from the descendants of the son of Joseph named Manasseh. You can read that they're a tribe in Numbers 135. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Manasseh was 32,200. Next question, what does it mean that I buffet my body? In 1 Corinthians 9, verse 27. The New King James states, I discipline my body. The NET, the net translation says, I subdue my body and make it a slave. The King James says, but I keep under my body. The LSV, but I bruise my body. NIV, no, I strike a blow to my body. NLV, I keep working over my body. Did I say the NIV? The NIV says, no, I strike a blow to my body. And the LEB states, I discipline my body and subject it. The Matthew Bible states, but I tame my body and bring it to subjection. In other words, I don't let it do what it wants to do when wanting to please itself with sin. And I work at keeping my spiritual life up and up as an athlete would sustain himself from certain foods that is not healthy for him and would do daily exercise to get into shape. So we have to sustain ourselves from sin, so not to ruin our spiritual health, and do those things to keep our spiritual health into health, like prayer, Bible reading, studying, fellowship, singing hymns, fasting, visuals, and so on. Do those things that will honor God, those things that will edify your spiritual life, just like an athlete would do his things to edify his shape, to work into shape and be healthy. Let's play a hymn, and then we'll just continue with the songs. say we were going to continue with the songs, with the questions, answering the questions. We're back and we're answering questions, your questions on the Bible. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at revkakoulides@gmail.com. If we do not answer it in this program, we will answer it in another future program when we have enough questions to answer. Okay, next question is, what were the scales on Paul's eyes? You're referring to Acts 9, verse 18. Immediately there fell from his eyes something like scales, and he received his sight at once, and he rose and was baptized. This could be cataracts, as some scholars believe. And I believe it could be cataracts as well. The word for scales is the word lepis. It means a scale of a fish. A scaly substance thrown off from the body. It also means to peel. It could also be a common expression to say that his spiritual blindness was lifted away from him. This word is also used in the Septuagint in Leviticus 11, verse 9 and 10, when it talks about the fishes. And these shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, all things that have fins and scales in the water. So, most likely, I believe, is a reference to cataracts. He had cataracts in his eyes. But there could have been something else. I'm not no eye doctor, so but some scholars do believe it to be cataracts. What is the meaning of the name Jonah? The name Jonah means Yahweh's dove, he that oppressive, and the destroyer. Those are some meanings of the name of Jonah. Next question would be, did Cain as well as Abel both have a twin sister? If so, where in the King James do I find that in reference? Cain and Abel did not have sisters, but were themselves twins. Bible doesn't say that their sisters came after the death of Abel as well, and the Bible says, let me repeat what I said, Cain and Abel did not have sisters, but whether there were twins after the birth of Abel and Cain is possible. Adam did have other sons and daughters, Genesis 5 verse 4, After he begat Seth, the days of Adam were 800 years, and he had sons and daughters. It is believed by many that Cain and Abel were twins, since the Bible doesn't say, and Adam knew his wife again, and she conceived Abel after that of Cain. Genesis 4, verse 1 and 2 says, Now Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived, and bore Cain, and said, I have acquired a man from the Lord. Then she bore again, this time his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. If they would have had sisters, they would have said, and she conceived again, and she had a daughter. Eve did not have no daughter after Abel and Cain in her stomach. Cain and Abel was twins, but no, the daughters that came afterwards, after them, was not in the same stomach, same time, the same stomach. I think that's better said. Cain did have daughters afterwards. The Bible does say after Seth, they did have. Eve did have daughters afterwards. Okay, next question. What does the Bible say about power of unity? Here's a couple that comes to mind. It calls God to say nothing which they propose to do would be impossible for them. Genesis 11, verse 6, And the Lord said, Indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. That's in Genesis 11, verse 6. Also, it is better to have more than to just be one. Ecclesiastes 4, verse 8 to 12 says, There is one alone, without companion. He has neither son nor brother, yet there is no end to all his labors, nor is his eye satisfied with riches, but he never acts. For whom do I toil and deprive myself of good? This also is vanity and grave misfortune. And continuing, it says, Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his companion, but woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him again. Again, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one be warmed alone? Though one may be overpowered by another, two can withstand him. And a three-fold cord is not quickly broken. Number 3, the church received the Holy Spirit when they was united. Acts 2, verse 1. When the day of Pentecost had fully come, they were all in one accord in one place. Number 4, if they are Christians, Christ said he is in the midst of them. Read this in Matthew 18, verse 19 to 20. Again, I say to you, that if two of you agree on the earth concerning anything that they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where there is 2 or 3 that are gathered together in my name, I am there in the midst of them. Next question. What are the names of Moses' 2 wives? Moses only had one wife. Notice it doesn't say in the passage I'm going to show you that he had more than one wife. Exodus 2:21, and Moses stayed with the man, and he gave Moses Sapphira, his daughter, to wife. We read in Exodus 18, verse 2, Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Sapphira, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back. Moses had 2 sons. Maybe that is what you got confused. In Exodus 18, verse 2 and 4 says, Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Sapphira, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back with her 2 sons. Maybe that is what you got confused. Moses had 2 sons, but he did not have 2 wives. Let's go to another song, and then we'll continue. Let's go to shelter in the eyes of the storm. Surely Jesus is a shelter for us in the time of the storm. No matter what storm you're going through, Jesus is that shelter that you need. He is our protection. Next question, where in the Bible does it talk about the bear? I believe you're talking about in reference to Job 9, verse 8 and 9. It says, He also spread out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. He made the bear, Orion and Pleiades, and the chambers of the south. So I believe you're talking about that. Next question. Abraham paid tithes to King Melchizedek once. Does it mean tithes should be paid once? The book of Hebrews shows why it was paid, to show that the Melchizedek priesthood that Jesus is far greater, that Jesus has is far greater than the Levitical priesthood, because Abraham, who descendants are the Levites, pay tithes to Melchizedek. Read Hebrews 7, verse 1 to 10 in your own time, and you can see that very clearly. Okay, next question. In the genealogy of Esau in Genesis 36, Esau's descendants is given in some detail. Other than recording the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham, does it serve for another purpose? And I will say, yes, it does. According to the Septuagint, the Greek version of the Old Testament, written around 250 BC, here we also find the identity of Job from the book of Job. Read Genesis 36, verse 33 to 34. and compare it to the Septuagint in Job 42, verses 16 and 17, that tells us that Jobab, the son of Zerah, is the Job of the book that we have in our Bibles, in the Old Testament. So it serves for that purpose as well. That's one of the... So that is another purpose that it serves. And that's basically what they use in the final passage of the book of Job in the Septuagint to say that. And they use that genealogy. Okay. Next question. Let's play a song and then we'll go to the next question. And let's play this following song. Let's play And Can It Be That I Should Gain?
My chains fell off, my heart was free. I rose, went forth, and followed thee.
We're now on our next question. Why did Bashiba bathe on the roof? Oh, that's an interesting question. The answer is simple. She did not bathe on the roof. I know that some people believe that, but she didn't bathe on the roof top, but her courtyard was the area where she would be bathed. It was David who was on top of his roof that saw her. She was not bathing for the purpose to be seen. It was private. Houses were somewhat distant from each other, and the houses was 1 or 2 floors, except for the king's palace, which could have been up to 6 floors or more, and a very good view over the people's walls. Reading 2 Samuel 11 verse 2, Then it happened one evening that David arose from his bed and walked on the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful to behold. The remains of David's palace can be found, some of it, somewhat. But Bashiba's house was a regular, probably a house of 1 floor or 2 floors. Yes, she would have had a rooftop to walk by and some stairs to go up, but the courtyard would have been the area where she would have bathed, and it would have been surrounded by a wall. So no one could have seen her except the king, who was on top of his rooftop looking on. His rooftop was higher than everybody else's, and he could have seen her from that distance. She was doing her purification, cleansing, because she had been in her menstrual period. 2 Samuel 11:4 says, Then David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him, and he laid with her, for she was cleansed from her impurity, and she returned to her house. Leviticus 15 verse 19 and 24 says, If a woman has a discharge, and the discharge from her body is blood, she shall be sent apart 7 days, and whoever touches her shall be unclean until evening. Verse 24 says, And if any man lies with her at all, so that her impurity is on him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and every bed on which he lies shall be unclean. Leviticus 18:19 says also, You shall not approach a woman to uncover her nakedness as long as she is in her customary impurity. She was raped and had no choice in the matter. He was the king. She was not to be blamed for what happened, but David was. 2 Samuel 11 verse 3 and 4. So David sent and inquired about the woman, and someone said, Is this not Bashiba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Then David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him, and he laid with her, for she was cleansed from impurity, and she returned to her house. Notice David's messengers took her. The Hebrew is the word lakah, which could mean fetch, get, seize, take away, send for her. she was a victim, not a seducer. She loved her husband and mourned for him when he died. Lord looked at what David did as evil, not what she did. 2 Samuel 11, verse 26 and 27. When the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah, her husband, was dead, she mourned for her husband. And when her mourning was over, David sent and brought her to his house, and she became his wife and bore a son. But the thing that the Lord had done displeased the Lord. Notice the thing that David done, not the thing that Bashiba done. She's innocent in the situation. Let's play another song, and then we're going to go for one more question to answer. Let's play the song, Open My Eyes That I May See.
Open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Place in my hands the wonderful key that shall unclasp and set me free. Silently now I wait for thee. Ready, my God, I will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me. Spirit divine, open my ears that I may hear voices of truth thou sendest here. And while the wave notes fall on my ear, everything false will disappear. Silently now I wait for thee. Ready, my God, I will to see. Open my ears, illumine me. Spirit divine, open my mouth and let me bear gladly the warm truth everywhere. Open my heart and let me prepare love with thy children thus to share. Silently now I wait for thee. Ready, my God, I will to see. Open my heart, illumine me. Spirit divine.
Let's continue answering your questions in this program today. Did Paul refer to the Septuagint? Yes, he did. We could see a clear example of this of Romans 3, verses 10 to 18. That whole passage is from the Septuagint. You could see that passage in Psalms 13, which some translation will put Psalms 14, but it's actually Psalms 13 in the Septuagint, where it says, "There is none righteous, no, not one. There is none who understandeth. There is none who seeks after God. They have turned aside. They have together become unprofitable. There is none who does good, no, not one. Their throat is an open tomb. With their tongue they have practiced deceit. The poison of the asp is under their lips, whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood, and destruction and misery are in their ways. And the way of peace they have not known. There is no fear of God before their eyes." All that is quoted in the Septuagint. It was a direct quote from the Septuagint, the Greek version of the Old Testament. Let's go to the next question. I was going to only answer one more, but let's continue. With the exception of Abraham and God, who are the 10 most important figures in the book of Genesis? Adam, Eve, Abel, Enoch, Noah, Melchizedek, Isaac, Jacob, Judah, and Joseph. Where in the Bible does it say, "Touch not my anointed"? You can find this passage in 1 Samuel 24, verse 6. "And he said to his man, The Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, to stretch out my hand against him, seeing he is the anointed of the Lord." 1 Chronicles 16:22, saying, "Do not touch my anointed ones, and do my prophets no harm." Psalms 105 verse 15 says, "Do not touch my anointed ones and do my prophets no harm." Side note, many false teachers in TBN, women pastors, and cult-like leaders who doesn't desire to be criticized for their false teaching uses those scriptures. In their case, it is safe to denounce their false teaching. And who is it who said it? 2 Timothy 2 verses 17 and 18. And their message will spread like cancer. And then he mentions two people, which right this moment I cannot pronounce their name. I think his name, one of them is Hymenaeus and Philetus, are of this sort, who have strayed concerning the truth, saying that the resurrection is already past, and they overthrow the faith of some. If I mispronounced their name, please forgive me. I didn't look up their pronunciation. Okay, next question. If the daughters of Cain had possibly given birth to the Nephilim giants, is that when a third of the angels of heaven would have fallen from grace? The Bible is very clear that the angels fell because of lust of women. You're right. Jude compares their sin with that of Sodom, who went after strange flesh, the angels which went to Lot. Jude 1 verses 6 and 7 says, "And the angels who did not keep their proper dominion, but left their own abode, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day, as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them in a similar manner, also known as similar manner, to these, having given themselves over to sexual immorality and gone after strange flesh, are set forth as an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire." Peter also tells that it happened in the time of Noah. Very interesting to note that it happened in the time of Noah. 2 Peter 2 verse 4 or 5 says, "For if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell and deliver them into chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment, and did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8 people, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood on the world of ungodly." But the reference to it being only Cain's daughters which they took, the Bible is not clear on that, or historians Josephus. So the daughters of Seth might have been also included, except for those who were Noah's wife and his son's wife. Let's continue. You can read Josephus, also Antiquity of the Jews, book 1, chapter 3, talks about this. Okay, now let's continue. What is the ideal way to dispose the Bible? When my Bible was torn and I couldn't be used anymore, I would have a funeral service for it. It would be wrapped up in cloth or put in a plastic container. I will say a few words, sing some hymns, and bury it in my backyard. I'm not renting a house, I'm renting a one-room apartment. I can't do that anymore. But interesting to note that in Jewish tradition, that when a Jewish scroll is beyond repair, it is buried in a coffin in a Jewish cemetery. Some Catholics do the same thing with religious items, showing a respect for burying it or burning it in a respectful manner. Muslims also do the same as well. When a Quran is beyond repair, it is wrapped in a cloth and buried in holy ground. Okay, this is the questions I answered for today. If you have any questions about the Bible or about anything else, please feel free to send me a email at revkakoulides@gmail.com, and I will be answering your questions. Lord bless you. Bye. Love you all.